correct you just really briefly. It's Beti Gathegi.
Oh, sorry.
But it's good. Hi, you guys. I was a little intimidated when I found out that I'd have to go last. But the great thing about going last is that everyone has given such great talks that I can come in and be like, yeah, what they said. What they said. That's exactly what I'm going to talk about. So I'm just going to expand on a couple of things that I heard and then also bring a little bit of my own experience into it and tell you about what I did and why I'm here and why I think I actually have the, credentials to speak at these kind of things. So I'm going to be actually talking about agency and being an active verb. I was invited, I'm going to look at my notes too. But I was invited because when I felt there was something missing or lacking out there in the world, I just decided to create it. I created what was missing to share with others and to just sort of fulfill that need myself. I have a history of doing that. When I was in high school, along with the guy who started the SWAT, Joe, I started 2 student organizations at my boarding school because they didn't exist, and so I just made them happen. I loved magazines. In fact, I worked at one, but instead of advice on makeup and clothing and stuff, to get my wardrobe and face to look the way I wanted, I decided that I wanted to talk to amazing women about how to get my life to look the way I wanted. I decided to get some inspiration from them in terms of how to go about creating the career that I wanted. Why I talked about careers. I cared more than anything about what I was going to be in this world and what I was going to give back to this world. And careers might not, everybody's like, oh, does career make happiness? I don't know if careers make happiness, but they do give financial independence and a sense of purpose. And so that's why careers meant more to me than anything else. And I wish I was one of those people, because we saw videos earlier about these kids, and they were like, yeah, one said they wanted to be a paleo artist. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't even know what a paleo artist was, or what it did, or, And there's like thousands, I'm going to go a little bit off card here, actually. There are thousands of careers out there that we're not aware of, and thousands of things that we can do that we're not aware of. And I decided to go out there and find out what these are and showcase them to the best of my ability so people actually know that they exist, especially women. And I'm talking to you, young women, young girls. I didn't miss my, perception that there's only been like 4 girls up here, by the way. Hint, hint, next year. Hint, 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 hint. But, so anyways, there are a whole bunch of careers out there. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't one of those people who was like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a baker. I want to do this. I didn't have like some divine thing. I wasn't especially talented in anything, you musicians and stuff like that. I wasn't specifically gifted in any particular way. I was good at a lot of little things. That's what I kind of did. And there was no like grand epiphany of this is what I should do. Actually, the way I started doing my project, Polyrepublic is actually the website, is I used to ask, like, what should I do? I didn't expect the voice of God to come down and tell me or anything like that. But I just sat still after asking, oh my God, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And I was asking everyone. I finally sat down in the quiet in my room and I listened. I just waited, just really quietly, and I listened to that little voice inside of me that said, well, you've always loved doing this, so why don't you just continue to do this on a more public and open level and pursue it a little bit more vehemently than you did before? And that's what it was for me. So all you people who don't know what you want to do, and trust me, there's a lot more than just me, but, it's not about, having these grand epiphanies, and if you're not especially talented in one thing, sometimes it's just a lot of little things, and it's just connecting the dots and finding a venue for that expression, because I love sharing people's stories, and whether or not I was doing that with the website or anything like that, I was going to continue sharing people's stories. I just decided to do it through this platform. But it was just that simple. It wasn't the voice of God, it was just me realizing that, yeah, I really like to do this, so I'm just going to continue to do this, and I'm going to give myself permission to do this. Where brings me to my next point. Why did I give myself permission to do this? It occurred to me, I'm going to embarrass my parents a little bit, they're here. Their life lessons for me, they tried to tell me what they thought would make me happy. And they tried to tell me, where I should go and what I should do, because based on what they thought would make me happy and based on what society did. But I realized at a young age that no one, and this was the greatest epiphany that I had, but I realized that no one had been here before. Like, no one's lived this life twice. Like, everyone's here for the first time. So on a really basic level, everyone is improvising. No one knows what they're doing. I promise you. That was like the most liberating thing I heard when I was a kid, because I realized that no one knew what they were doing. So therefore, in that, realization, you have the freedom to create whatever you want. If it doesn't exist out there in the world, you can make that happen. I know, it sounds really simple, but it's true. You can make that happen. If it's not there, just like I was like, oh, there's not really that many websites out there where, they're talking about careers for young women. Well, guess what? You can just make it. It's magic. I swear to you. And it's fantastic. It feels fantastic. I was just talking to Terry, who organized this event, and I was like, do you know what it feels like when you create something? I mean, it's just the feeling that somebody else is excited or interested in what you're talking about or what you're doing. It feels like dancing with sunshine. It just feels so euphoric, because you get one person to believe in what you're doing. You get one person to, show up to an event, and you see all these people who, like, there was nothing here before, and now all these people are gathered together by me. I did that. I mean, it's unlike anything else I've ever done. And so even if you do, work for someone else, or you do something else in your life, just try to create one thing. I swear to you, it will just, man, I don't even know how to explain it. I don't do drugs, but I think it's pretty close. All right. But, and another reason when I started to decide that I could do stuff on my own was a little bit of my personality. I stubbornly and purposefully live in everything that I am. Because, and I'll explain a little bit about what that means. It means that even when I was young, I realized, like, let's say I'm not tall. I'm 5'2 3/4". I'm pretty short, by some people's standards. But I realized that I'm not tall, but there's so many other things I can be. For that one thing that I'm not, I'm vivacious, I'm outgoing, I'm loud, I don't know, a whole bunch of other adjectives, but I am so many other things. I mean, statistics tell me that I should be X, Y, and Z. I shouldn't have certain opportunities, or I can't achieve certain things. I'm a woman. They tell me I'm inundated. Somebody else was talking about statistics earlier today and creating a norm. But it's just, they tell me, oh, well, you live in this neighborhood, so you have these opportunities. Or you are this race, and you have these opportunities. And you're this gender, so you have these opportunities. But I kind of don't listen to that, because for everything that you say that I am or whatever, there's so many other things, and I get to create my identity. And so I said, hey, yeah, there's Marianne Williamson says something about letting your light shine, and it's fantastic, and I can't quote it right now. But everybody, it's just, yeah, I might not be all these things, but this is what I am, and I've just created my entire existence, and you guys can do that as well. I mean, creating, what you are and believe in, and I kind of went off on a tangent there, so I'm going to swing it back around. But another thing that I did was, I may not always succeed, but I'm too stubborn or naive not to try. I am one of those people who doesn't ask why, but does everything in the world to find out why not. Why things don't exist, why I can't do things. So, I mean, you definitely get out there and do that. Advice, you can't think yourself into being. There's an action component, a doing part. I mean, no great man ever sat in a corner and was like, oh, I'm great because I had this idea and that's it. And I contributed something to the world and I'm done now. Like, you never hear about those people. They don't write books about those people. They don't make movies off those people. They don't make action figures about those people. What you actually have to do is when you have these great ideas and when you think of something, I mean, it could be really small. It could be, I craft, so there's Etsy, so I'm going to sell my crafts on Etsy, and now other people have my stuff. I mean, you, on such a small level, you just start creating. Even if it's for an audience of one, like I was saying before, even if it's for your friends, if it's for yourself, you just take that thing inside you and you start doing something about it. You don't just let it be something that, oh, this existed. No, you start doing. There's an action component. And you don't wait until everything's perfect. That's another fallacy that I realized when I started my website, is because I was like, oh, well, I need this certain domain name, or I need this certain, amount of capital, or I need this and I need that. And I thought I had to get all my ducks in a row before I started going out there. Lies, I tell you. Nothing will ever be perfect. There's no such thing. Nothing will ever just completely align. There will always be a star that's slightly off kilter. So you can't wait for that moment because you will be waiting forever. You have to start now. Why not? These things will not line up for you, so you might as well just go out and take that opportunity when and where you can. I'm telling you. That's another thing that I learned. Yeah, so start right now, doing what you love, pursue it passionately, vehemently, and produce something even if it's for an audience of one. Be an active verb. Do. Jump, run, sing, play, laugh, live, everything else, be an active verb. What was that?
What?
Sorry. And another thing was that people ask me a lot about where do I want this to go, this website. They're like, oh, so you've started it now. I haven't monetized it, or that dirty word for making money off of it. But people are like, oh, so what do you want this to be? Where do you want this to go? How do you want this developed? The truth is, and people, I thought I had to wait around for that knowledge too. I was like waiting around for that epiphany. And the thing is, you don't have to know that. You don't have to have the answers before you start to ask the question. That's counterintuitive. I'm going to start doing what I want to do, and then hopefully later there'll be something that comes out of this. I mean, I started this website. Let me tell you a little bit about it. But I started talking to these women that I thought would never talk to me because they wanted to share their stories, and it was just fantastic. And then I get the opportunity to come here to speak at TED and meet all you wonderful people. And then I'm, calling COOs of companies, which I did, and I actually had an interview with a woman who's very important in New York, and that was awesome. I was speaking to women who are like on MTV and all this stuff, and I'm talking to them, and it's just become this organic, wonderful experience that I'm on. I'm on the journey. So yeah, I don't have the destination in mind. I don't have it in my Google map. Maybe it'll become this phenomenon that reaches all over the world, and maybe everybody will get excited about careers and talking about careers and telling little girls that, yeah, it's okay to dream and keep dreaming and dream big, because when you're little, you have Girls Inc. and you have all those organizations that are like, yeah, you can dream. But then when you get a little bit older, everybody starts not asking what do you want to do in this life, but when are you going to get married? So it's like, I'm at that age, okay? But, so people stop asking, when you get to a certain place in life, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to continue to do? How do you want to contribute to this world? How do you want to give back? And I want to keep that conversation going after college, during college, and especially with women, because people stop asking them those things. So maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe that's how it'll grow. Maybe I'll just continue to meet amazing women. Maybe something else will come out of this. But I just had to start. There was no other option. As soon as I heard that voice, there was just nothing else I could do about it. So I just went out. We are pioneer. Oh, so here's another thing that's exciting. I was talking earlier about statistics and people defining who you are and what you should be and what you should do based on your circumstances. And people try to tell you, put you in categories. But if you want an example of how people are winging it and how everybody's improvising and how, things are, you can create off of those things, the internet is so new. I remember when my dad had like the internet and you had to dial up and you had to put in all these codes and it would bring up the thing and it'd be like, shee, 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 and you had to listen for like the modem to catch. It was like crazy. It's like a black screen and like green letters, and that was it. And if you had pictures, I remember that, and AOL. And I've seen the development of the internet in my age. And so no one knows where it's going. The internet is so new. I remember, to go back, Vanity Fair did this thing. Oh, I don't know if I can mention names, but they asked a question of my generation. They were like, what is your generation doing? Like, the 60s had a movement, the 70s had a movement, everybody had all these clearly defined movements. What are you guys doing? You're just sitting around, you're not doing anything. And I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of harsh. Okay. But the internet came along, and now there's this new frontier. No one has been here before. This is brand new. No one knows where it's going. If you see all these articles in the New York Times and gadgets and gizmos and whatever, no one knows the potential of this thing. Talk to anybody in corporate level about social media and they get dazed and they're like headlights. They're like, oh my gosh. This is our generation. I mean, we get to define, we're writing its history right now because this is its infancy. So this is the new frontier, and we're developing it right now. And somebody mentioned Mark Zuckerberg. I think that was Jeff again. So, like, he created Facebook, and now it's changed the way we live. I mean, this is a new place. It's a new place to leave our map and to make our mark. They talk about millennials. They produce studies on us, but they still can't figure us out. And so instead of waiting for them to tell us what we are, why don't we define what we are for ourselves? Why don't you guys try living stubbornly and purposefully, you know, in everything that you are instead of what you're not? So, hold on. I might have something else. 2 minutes. I've been told I have 2 minutes. So, out of all this rambling and all this stuff, I had some really great stuff on failure, by the way, because everybody loves that. Well, actually, yeah, let me end on that, because everybody talks about the good side, and I talked about dancing with sunshine and stuff when you create stuff and how it feels and how wonderful it feels to go out and create. By the way, I've said a lot, but if you have one takeaway from this, it's please go out there and create something, especially girls. Don't ask for permission. Just make, do, go out there and give yourself that permission. You know, I applied for a lot of jobs, but like now I'm just, you know, I'm not waiting for somebody to say, oh, do you want to be a producer in my company? I said, I actually produce my own videos. How do you make a podcast? Well, I learned. Library cards are free, and I went into, you know, a library and I picked up a book and I learned how to make a podcast. So I actually also do my own podcast. Well, how do you know, write this, blah, 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 you know? It's all on my website. I do it all. It's just me. Behind all the flash and glamour, it's just me, a party of one. But, so yeah, if you take one thing away from this, it's seriously, everyone's improvising. Don't be intimidated by that. Walk into a room, know that you have something unique and valuable to add to the conversation, and go in there and just start talking. All right, that's the thing, but I know I have like 1 minute. Failure is a thing, though. Failure is a big detriment. A lot of people don't do things because they're scared to fail, and I did for a while. But when I was creating this, I was having a really bad day, and there was a producer who had this huge, big budget movie that came out, and it had tons of exposure and everything like that, and it bombed. Like, it bombed so universally. It was critically panned. It didn't make any money. Everybody was talking about it. And I was like, man, I had a bad day, but that guy, oh man, he really had a bad day. So, I mean, that made me feel a little bit better, but I also recognized what he did. And before he made that thing, there was nothing before he made that thing. And now we're talking about it, we're engaged about it, people have opinions on it. It exists because of him, because of his creativity, because of his passion, because he had, you know, he got other people behind him to go out and help him make this venture. And so before him, there was nothing. And now after him, he has a legacy, even though it's a bad legacy, but he has a legacy. And so I was like, to do something on such a massive scale and to have the courage to fail in front of billions of people. And trust me, you don't win or lose if you don't play the game. So yeah, he lost, but he played. So to have the courage to fail in front of billions of people, I have 5 family members and only like 500 plus friends on Facebook. And so I realized that if he had the courage to fail in front of millions, surely that was a call, that was a challenge that I can at least try to go out there and do something in front of at least 500. So thank you guys so much. I'm gonna run away.